A guide to guides and ascended masters. A guide to guides and ascended masters. It is often in our moments of contemplation, something like meditation, even if we've never practiced it, that insights tend to come along. Oftentimes they can come in the form of an image which inspires 1,000 words. And so the word inspires is the key here. It's not something that we thought of, because then that would be the self identifying with having the thoughts. Really, it's thoughts coming. It's almost like they have a little bit of space, where usually we have recurring thoughts that are on a train that's something like looped, right? We have our usual train of thoughts every day that we kind of use as reference points to who we are. These are kind of trademark thoughts that we would usually think we think. And it's what helps create identity. Really, we're not the ones thinking the thoughts are just kind of going. They're just kind of happening. And it's somewhat tangential to say that we are the ones observing the thoughts in the way that we observe clouds, right? We're not the ones making the clouds. The clouds are just passing through. In the same way, thoughts and emotions are simply passing through. A lot of these are based on memory, experiences that we've had, and so they've kind of shaped the thoughts and feelings that we have. And so they're kind of, clouds circling the earth, thoughts, emotions circling our mind. Now, what's useful about meditation is that it creates space. Right? We're not suppressing, we're not repressing thoughts. We're simply allowing them to happen and creating space in between identifying with them. So identity there is kind of like a bridge. And the mistake is in identifying as that bridge. Right? We're not the ones who connect these two things. These two things just are witness and witnessed. Thoughts and emotions and awareness, general awareness. And so in this way, our identity is not so fixed or rigid. We can take comfort and security in knowing that we simply are without having to be a certain way. Right? How often have you heard of someone saying, well, I'm just an anxious person. Well, I'm just an angry person. That's that rigid identifying with the prevailing, with the more common thoughts and emotions. When you start to let this go, and instead of identifying, kind of attaching yourself to the thoughts and emotions, and simply make that subtle shift of, okay, there are thoughts and emotions, rather than I am those thoughts and emotions. That starts to create space. And within that space is where guides and ascended masters come to guide and teach. So in that space of awareness, and on the other side, let's say, of the bridge, thoughts and emotions. In that space is where new ideas, new thoughts, new emotions can slip in. I like to call them care packages, right? Something like this. A care package comes in the form of inspiration. I like a thought or image or idea was inspired. I didn't think of it. It just kind of came to me. Right? It came to me from someone else, from something else, from somewhere else. And in the beginning, I would kind of clamor and scramble to find this place of where the thing came from. And I would kind of lose that idea. It's like forgetting a good idea. It's kind of how it would be. Right? It's like the care package comes in, and instead of unboxing it, sitting with it, I start to go towards where it came from, which is, it's like trying to run up an ice hill, right? Just going to keep slipping and you'll never get there. The point is to unbox the care package. It's a little gift that came to you. Now you get to unbox it. And so how do we receive these care packages? How do we receive guidance from our guides? How do we receive teachings from ascended masters? Well, we allow the space for them. That's really it. It's not about, this is what I think my guides want. This is what I think the Ascended Masters are here to teach me. Like if I called in the Ascended Master of peace, right? Maybe there's a lot of anxiety or turmoil or conflict in my life. Maybe there's a problem. There's something preventing me from peace. Well, I can surrender my thoughts, give them up, not push them away, because this is a different type of attaching, of sticking to them. Right? If someone's kind of leaning into you and you're pushing them away, you're still connected to them because your hand is still on them, pushing them away. It's a lot more like just surrendering, demystifying. And so this thing that you consider a problem comes closer and closer and closer and then passes through you. It's a little frightening, it's a little maybe anxiety-inducing, but when you allow things to pass through you, they have to get close to you. And so it is with guides and ascended masters. What they bring to teach may be something that you're resisting. And so when you surrender resistance or surrender effort, the opposite end of that, of trying or thinking, guessing what they might be here to teach you, well, then you're opening yourself up to receive information. And this can trigger vulnerability, this can trigger fear, anxiety, boundary issues, these kinds of things. But it's in sitting with that fear and allowing it to pass through you that you get to not only go through it, not only have the invaluable experience of disconfirming what your fears believe to be true, and in so doing becoming less afraid, not only these things, but you also receive the information and the teaching. And It'll happen in the snap of your fingers, in the blink of an eye, right? That's all it needs for the idea to be planted, to come in. Let's say a guide or ascended master comes in, and I'm not necessarily listening for words. It's not so much a conversation like you would have with your friend or with someone through text or online. Where you have your ideas, they have their ideas, you have their ideas of their ideas. That's what we're surrendering. It's a somewhat new style. It's a new style of conversing. And so, let's say I call in the Ascended Master of Peace, the guides of peace. Well, immediately the question that comes to mind is, how am I not being peaceful? How can I find peace? What is it that I can learn or change or correct so that I may find a state of peace with what's going on in my life? And so you just sit there and allow the guide or ascended master to come in into your awareness, right? It's like allowing a friend to come into your room, or a teacher, or a shaman, whatever you want to visualize. And they'll come in as people you may know, people you may look up to. They may take on the form of a professor, whatever your mind interprets a kind of authority figure to be, right? Because an ascended master is, for lack of a better word, the authority on the issue at hand. So you're kind of surrendering your ego of, well, no, this is what I think it is, this is what I think it should be, and just being like, okay, this is the person who is the subject matter expert on this issue. Let me shut the fuck up and hear them out. And they may not even say anything, but your mind, your subconscious mind, is already kind of decoding it. Their presence alone, whoever it is that comes to you, be it Jesus, be it Buddha, Krishna, Baba Yagi, Ramtha, Nada, any of these ascended masters, they may just be present, and you feel like what their presence feels like. Their energy, their emotion, and your subconscious is just kind of soaking it in. It's allowing their presence to be there. And when your mind starts to try to describe what's going on and starts its thinking, this is where the meditative practice comes in of like, okay, these are my thoughts. I'm gonna let them go. They're not what are defining the moment. Our thoughts are not what define who we are. And so in the presence of your guides, the ascended masters, your thoughts may come in. And we can allow them to be there as well. And kind of like let them go. Be like, okay, kind of like if you're talking to a friend or someone you respect, an elder, grandparent, whatever, you're in the living room and you're talking to them. And then, your kid or your dog comes in and they're like trying to get your attention. It's the exact same thing. It's like, okay, there you are. I acknowledge you. That's fine. Maybe give us like a little bit of space. Come back in a little bit. Right? You're not resisting, because then all your attention, all your awareness goes on to the thing that you're resisting. It's light. It's gentle. Accept. Okay, very good. Thank you. And then release. Release in the form of surrender, not pushing away. Meditation usually centers around the breath, and it's just such a key, congruent, perfect parallel, right? You don't push away your thoughts. I mean, you don't push away your breath, right? You just allow it to leave your body. You might be a little bit more aware of it. If you want to cool your coffee, well, then you might push your breath, but you're never forcing or resisting your breath. You're not sucking in oxygen when you inhale, right? You just allow air to come in and you allow air to go out. It's the same thing. It's the exact same thing with thoughts, and the exact same thing with guides and ascended masters. You allow their presence to be there. You kind of take it in and let it go. You're not clinging onto them for hopes that they will always guide you and always be certainty in your life. Because for a teacher to be a teacher, they have to let you figure it out on your own too. Otherwise, you're just taking somebody else's word for it. That is dogma. That is, bordering on fanaticism. To be like, the authority said this, it's this way. And so without having to run the experiment myself, I'm going to regurgitate their words. This is not the way. And so we simply allow our guides, our ancestors, the ascended masters to be present with us. And if you feel like you're alone in this world, or like you have to do it on your own, this is going to run against the grain. Because in truth, you're never alone. In truth, you're always being guided. Whether or not you listen or follow that guidance is on you. But you call in your ancestors and you sit with their presence. However strange or different it may feel, it's going to feel how it feels. It's going to be what it's going to be. But it's in allowing silence that creates space. It's in allowing what is now to be now and not wishing it were different that allows us to surrender to the moment. Instead of the way we wish it would be, or instead of what we're working towards, every now and then surrendering to what is now. The goal being, without judging it, to simply be with it. There are people who say life is like a dance, and if you wish you had a different dance partner, or you wish the music was different, or you wish you were a better dancer, or this or that, whatever other wishes you wanted there to be, it's going to take you out of the moment, however slightly or however largely, and it's going to cause disharmony, chaos within the dance. It's going to cause dissonance within the harmony. And if instead you simply dance with who you can dance with, to the music that's playing, you might end up enjoying yourself. It may not be what you wanted it to be, but it can be what it is. You can try and sit out the dance and pout or, ruminate, think yourself into a hole. You can go out and dance with yourself. Either way, the music that's playing is the music that's playing in the place that it's playing in. And so this listening, being open to guides or ascended masters or our ancestors is something like a dance with them. And we're allowing them to lead. And the dance itself, this energetic exchange with them, is what's teaching us what we needed to learn, even if we didn't know we needed to learn it, even if we didn't know that we were dancing.